Have you heard about the Disney Afternoon Collection coming to the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2? Oh man, I was excited to see that floating around on social medias, and then I finally saw it in the eShop. Oh, this is going to be so great. I love these classic Disney games. Not all of them, but I love them. What it entails, and I've done a review of Ducktales a couple years ago. I meant to do Ducktales 2 right after, but I didn't do it. So that's why we're doing Ducktales 2 right now on this episode. So, without further ado, get yourself a beverage. If you want to take a moment to blend you up something like this, sit back, relax, and let's talk about the Disney Afternoon Collection that's coming out on the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, and specifically our review of Ducktales 2. Roll the intro. So the Disney Afternoon Collection, it's been out on Steam for quite some time. I purchased it on Steam and got to play and experience, DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Didn't realize there was a Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2. Came out in 1994, late in the NES cycle. What in the world? All right. Genesis and the Super Nintendo have been duking it out for a few years at this point, and they're planning to release the N64 PlayStation within the next 2 years. What in the world were they thinking with those late releases? But hey, it's all here. Talespin's on there, and on the one that's coming on the Switch, in Switch 2, they're adding 2 more games. Goof Troop and Bonkers, the Bobcat. From the Super Nintendo. Take them or leave them. Never played them. Not really interested. I might dabble, but I'm not really interested. Goof Troop was cool. I didn't really care for Bonkers too much. I did watch them both, I watched several episodes of those, but here we are. We're here to talk about DuckTales 2, though. Let's move on here. In 1993, I remember it was a Friday evening, and we were at Kmart, and I saw it right there in the shelves. DuckTales 2. And I was like, I like DuckTales. I think I'll like DuckTales 2. So I asked if I could get it, and surprisingly, I got it. Apparently it was cheap. Again, late the NES life cycle of 1993. The Super Nintendo's already been out for 2 years. 2 years, and the Genesis probably a year longer, maybe 3. All right? So the fact that they were still producing NES games at this time was just crazy. And a year later, in 94, they released Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers 2, and guess what? Mega Man 6. Even though Mega Man X has already been out, and they're working on 7 already. Yeah. Crazy times, right? And Kirby's Adventure came out in 1993, too. You believe that? And if you want to go back to Darkwing Duck, 1992. There you go. So the NES still was pumping out games, right? So the early to mid 90s. It's crazy to think about now with the modern era of gaming at this time. But it was great. It was great times. Genesis did what Nintendo don't. The 16-bit wars. I love the 90s, man. Good times. But trying to get a physical copy of DuckTales 2 nowadays, you're looking at probably $250 to $500, depending on where you get this. DK Oldies had it priced about $300 to $500 range. Of course they did. I sold some stuff to them before and got some good cash out of it. I've only bought one thing from them, and that was it so far. DKOldies.com. Check them out if you're interested. But on eBay, you can find them for a lot less. A lot less. There's some double-digit prices for just the cartridge itself. Or if you wanted to get a Wada Seal DuckTales 2 A grade, you're looking at $11,500. Oh, my wallet screams in pain right now. But let's get into the story of DuckTales 2. Nothing really too much has changed since their first adventure. Scrooge still sporting his red coat and his pogo abilities. He's still hanging out with his nephews. Launchpad's here and accounted for. And all the other characters, well, lack of. We'll get into that in just a moment. But here's how the story goes. It starts out like the predecessor. You travel through 5 locations across a world map to collect treasure. But there is a twist with DuckTales 2. And this is where I love DuckTales 2. All right? They made it so unique and different compared to the predecessor. And it's awesome. I love this about it. We are in search of lost treasure. Not just any lost treasure. The lost treasure of McDuck. Yeah. And you have to collect several pieces of the map in order to find it. And so the game starts you off immediately with a piece of a map. Your nephews find it somewhere in your basement at McDuck Manor, and here it is. Hey, we found this treasure map. Bless me, bagpipes. It goes to the lost treasure at McDuck, y'all. Thus, this begins the journey across 5 areas of the world to collect maps in each one of those areas. However, that's 6 counting right now, all right? So that's 6. You get the map instantly in the beginning. Then you travel through 5 areas to get other pieces of maps. So that's 6. There's one more piece. You want to take a guess where that last piece is at? The nephews had it the entire time. It's in the store. That's right. They're selling the piece of map for $1 million in the store. After you visit locations, you get an opportunity to go to a store to spend your money, and they're outrageous prices. You can get stuff like a Continue Globe, a cake that's going to heal all your health, a Scrooge doll that gives you an extra life, and a safe because you're going to need it. Because in this game, when you die in that specific level, you lose all of the treasure you have collected. And if you didn't buy the safe, well, bless me, bagpipes, your money's gone in the Niagara Falls! God forbid you die at the boss fight of that stage that you're in, because if you do, the only loot you're getting is the treasure you collect when you beat them. That's it. So sometimes it's a gamble. Do I spend the money to get a safe, so in case I die, my money is safe? Or do I just adventure out and risk it all? It's a gamble. Get DraftKings on the phone. Get Kevin Hart involved. Let's gamble away on this, whether Scrooge buys a safe or he doesn't buy a safe while his nephews are getting money out of his pockets. Those greedy nephews. I would expect it from Louie Duck from the DuckTales reboot from 2017. He's always after Scrooge's fortune. He's wanting his inheritance. He's wanting to run the McDuck Empire. But no, guess who they have run the store? Huey freaking Duck, the brainiac of the trio. I didn't think I would rant right here, but here we are. The areas that you'll be traveling within DuckTales 2 are in this order. I highly recommend this order. Niagara Falls, Bermuda Triangle, the Lost Continent of Mew, Egypt, and Scotland Yard. That's actually a castle. And yes, I do recommend that order. All right? You could probably get away flip-flopped in Scotland and Egypt if you like. I just like to get Egypt out of the way, to be honest. But you're going to need this. You'll thank me later for it. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why here. But let's look at the geography of this world that we're looking at. Have you noticed the geography in DuckTales 2? It's awful. None of these places are in the proper areas. None! Unless this is what the Duck universe looks like of their planet. But nothing looks like this in our world. It's crazy. And there is no Gizmo Duck to be found in DuckTales 2 because we all know why.
That is the ugliest Gizmo Duck I've ever seen. You want to watch him die? Yeah, he just dies.
We all know what happened. He fell down the pit on the moon, never to be seen again. All right? But, good Lord, Gyro Gear Loose plays a much bigger role in DuckTales 2, supplying Uncle Scrooge with 3 different cane adapters that you're going to need to progress. So you better find Gyro. And this is where I said when it comes to that specific order of levels, because you'll find Gyro in Niagara Falls, the Bermuda Triangle, and the Lost Continent of Mew. You hit all 3 of those first, you get your upgrades, it's going to make your life much easier. And I said in that specific order. I mean, go for it. Go visit different lands and figure it out yourself. But I highly tell you and highly recommend that's the order. And you're going to need all 3 of these adapters that Gyro gives you to be able to find these maps and even progress through certain areas, because there are certain blocks that will give you the ability to pull and break depending on the cane adapters you get in these specific levels. So, especially in the Lost Continent of Mew. Oh man, can I rant about this one? You ready for another rant session? Let's go for it. Let me get a swig of my protein drink. When it comes to the Lost Continent of Mew, it's very cryptic. You'll see a wall with a mural on it that kind of depicts what you should be doing. And then you get to Launchpad. Oh, God bless Launchpad. Because right behind Launchpad is a wall. A hidden wall. A secret wall that you could go through. And that's where you need to go to sink 2 stones and 2 specific areas in order for you to access not only just a hidden treasure, but also a piece of the map. Because if you progress past Launchpad, you'll notice that there is a barrier with water. There's water everywhere. And you'll notice there's a barrier with a chain. And you won't be able to access it until you do this task. Because what the 2 stones will do in those specific spots will raise the continent up. The water's drained, and you're able to access the hidden area. And you better make sure you got the cane adapter from Gyro to break those blocks, because you're going to be digging for these items. Oh, man. The Lost Continent of Mew is a chore. It is really a chore. Egypt has its cryptic moments as well, but not too much cryptic, because there's a vault that you have to unlock by pogo jumping numbers a certain amount of times in a certain order, which one of the nephews tells you the code beforehand anyway. So if you can figure it out from there, you're able to access another piece of the map. And then Scotland, in the castle, there's another specific area to access another map that's hidden away. You have to go through another invisible wall or hidden wall and pogo jump, leap of faith, pogo jump on top of hands with lanterns, floating hands with lanterns. And then you'll take another big leap of faith, drop down to get like basically a room with treasure chests, and the big one there has the map. There you go. Other notable characters that are missing, like Mrs. Beakley, she's not in this game giving you treats. There are no Beagle Boys in sight, and no other common DuckTales villains, except for Glomgold. I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never give it up. Whenever me and everybody hands go up, and they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. I win! You get generic enemies and generic bosses. Yep, that's it. It's all generic. Even though DuckTales, the original, you had to fight a statue, and then there was a giant rat in the moon level. I mean, yeah. Not as generic, I could say, but they're pretty generic. Launchpad McQuack. I have some grievances with Launchpad McQuack. You ready for it? He does play a bigger role in DuckTales 2. He's there in the overworld map with you, talking about your next destination, kind of like the predecessor game of Darkwing Duck, where he asks, where do you want to go, DW? But in this game here, Launchpad's catchphrase to Scrooge is usually Mr. McD. He calls him Mr. McD. Nickname, I should say. Yeah, the nickname is Mr. McD. But in this game, he calls him Uncle Scrooge. In fact, everybody in this game calls you Uncle Scrooge. Gyro Gear Loose. Hey, Uncle Scrooge. The nephews, yeah, I would expect them to call him Uncle Scrooge. But every freaking other character in this game calls him Uncle Scrooge. No! And then you're just forced to talk to Launchpad. Especially in Lost Continent Mew, because you're forced to talk to him before you get past the wall. And God forbid you choose the wrong option about going home and you actually go home. It happened to me. Where I was like trying to speed through the text and I clicked, yes, I want to go home. I'm like, no, I gotta do it all over again. Webby Vanderquack does play a role in this game as the damsel in distress. Yeah, she's just as bad as Princess Peach at this point. All right, and we're only 2 games in with DuckTales. That's it. No more, no less. But it's captured by Glomgold. The final boss is Glomgold after all. Kind of like in the previous game, even though you had to do Dracula Duck. It's weird. But you actually fight Glomgold in this one after you hand him all your treasure, and then he turns into the D-1000, a ripoff of the T-1000 Terminator. Yeah, the liquid version. Yeah, he turns into that. What in the world is happening in this game? Now we got Terminator tied in to DuckTales. Somehow. Glomgold's got Terminator technology. It's crazy. There is, and I repeat, there is a 6th location to visit when you collect all 7 pieces of the map, because this is where you get the Lost Treasure McDuck. And guess where you get it? You get it in the basement of Scotland's castle. You was just there. You went there. And if you played that level last in the order that I called for it to be, Scrooge goes back home with the 7th piece of map and says, hey, guess what, Uncle Scrooge? The treasure's in Scotland, in the basement of the castle that we were just at. Why didn't you take all the map pieces with you instead of going home? Now you're going to fly back to Scotland again. It's crazy. Oh, goodness. But you defeat another wizard there in that place that transforms you into a frog. And then you get the Lost Treasure McDuck there. It's, oh, good night, y'all. DuckTales 2, though dropping late in the NES lifecycle, it's a great game. And this is probably one that many people miss because they have already moved on to the 16-bit consoles, playing Super Mario World and all that stuff, and Sonic the Hedgehog. They're like, yeah, blast processing, and all that crap. But it's still a fantastic game. DuckTales 2 is one that, yes, it has generic enemies. It has generic bosses. Everyone calls you Uncle Scrooge. The store is robbing you blind with its outrageous prices. But it is a great sequel to the original DuckTales game. And well worth the play. Highly recommend checking it out. You can play it now if you like. On Steam if you get the Disney Afternoon Collection there. Or here in the next couple weeks or so, it's going to drop on the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, and you can experience it there. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and take care.